Hello, it is Sunday the 22nd of April, and in this video I'm going to look at the latest Lotto result and see in what ways the winning numbers were most outstanding. This is the ticket that I had in the last draw. I only got one number. I didn't win anything on the up picks. So I didn't do very well, but you can see why I picked number 54, because it's the most overdue for its frequency. Picked 33 because it's most overdue, and the other numbers picked 23 because it's the most overdue for its frequency. When we look at this chart, I picked 29 because it's most frequent. I'm going to look at recent history, but I haven't quite managed to get this analyzer section to figure out which numbers I'm looking at. You see, on this chart I'm only looking at numbers 1 to 49, and the reason why it's thrown off from this number to this number when trying to figure out which is most overdue for its frequency is because the recently added numbers are right over here and the rest of the numbers are way over there. If you look at the frequencies, then you can see why. So I'm looking at the full draw yesterday. 23's not been as frequent since the new numbers were added. In fact, it's been one of the least frequent. So anyway, let's go back to before the last draw. And see what numbers came out. Since I've added this section, it's considerably slowed down, and the reason why is because on this sheet it used to only go as far as there, but now it goes all the way across to there. So I've added quite a few new columns, and each one of them has got over 2,000 cells in them. So this spreadsheet takes up quite a lot of memory. But anyway, back to the latest result. I noticed that there's a lot of low numbers. So it was machine, alpha, set balls 5. And when we look at the draw history, just for the 2 machines and 4 sets of balls that have been in use recently, and we look at the draw history as far back as when the numbers went up to 59, up until the draw before the last draw. This is what the chart looks like, and this is where the winning numbers were on that chart. So at first it doesn't look like any of the numbers are most outstanding. Now let's narrow it down just to set of balls number 5, and when we do that, you can see that for set of balls number 5 and the machines that are in use at the moment, the number 57 was the most outstanding because most overdue for its frequency. So if we'd picked the most outstanding number in that respect for each set of balls and put a different line on for each one, then one of the lines would have had 57 in it. We would have got one number so far. If we narrowed it down further and just looked at alpha and machine 5, so for each set of balls we'd have to look at each machine, put a different line on for each one, then maybe when we look at this chart, in fact if we'd just looked at, see, when we're just looking at since the numbers went up to 59, 57's most overdue for its frequency. But when we look at full draw history and just these 2 machines and set of balls number 5, then you can see that number 12 is considerably most outstanding because all the other numbers are down here in this square, and number 12 is way up there, overdue. So number 12 was most outstanding in that respect. Now let's narrow it down to just machine alpha. And when we do that, then these numbers don't look as outstanding anymore. But what you have to remember is set of balls 5 has been used in more than one machine. In fact, since the numbers went up to 59, it's also been used in these 2 machines, Guinevere and Lancelot. And when we look at that chart, you can see, for example, number 2, one of the most frequent, number 57 on the edge of the chart again, and there's the other numbers. But anyway, let's focus on machine alpha. And let's look at all 4 sets of balls that have been used recently. And if we go to full draw history, see if that makes any difference. In fact, let's look at all 8 sets of balls that have been used. And just since the numbers went up to 59. So you can see 57 still on the edge of the chart, but what we're looking for is numbers 8, 9, 20 and 2. So I haven't seen the ways in which they were most outstanding yet. So we're looking at just machine alpha, all sets of balls. Now if we look at numbers paired with number 8, or numbers paired with number 20, and the full draw history, then now you can see when we're looking at just machine alpha, all sets of balls that have been used in that machine, and outcomes where number 20 has been in the combination. You can see that number 8 is most overdue for its frequency to occur with number 20 and machine alpha. So number 8 most outstanding with number 20, and so when we look at it the other way around, see, when we're looking at numbers paired with number 8, you see there's number 20 on the edge of the chart. And if we just look at the 8 sets of balls that have been in use since the numbers went up to 59, now you can see 20 is most overdue for its frequency to occur with number 8 and machine alpha on that chart. So let's just see where the other numbers were. Down there. So you can see that there was a way of looking at it that we saw 57 most overdue for its frequency. Another way of looking at it, we could see number 12 most overdue. And when we look at just the machine and the full draw history, we can see number 20 and number 8 quite frequent pair with this machine. Well, average in terms of its frequency, but overdue for the frequency of that pair. So we got 2 individual numbers most outstanding and 1 pair of numbers most outstanding. So if we look at the other numbers, see if we can find anything outstanding, such as these numbers paired with each other. So we've just got to find the ways in which these other 2 numbers were outstanding. Number 2 and number 9. Number 9 is actually one of the slowest recently, and number 2 one of the most frequent. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, when we just look at the 4 machines and 8 sets of balls that have been in use since the numbers went up to 59, and we look at numbers paired with number 12, now we find that number 2 is most overdue to occur with number 12. I think that's only when we're looking at the full draw history. When we just look at the recent history, then again 57 most overdue for its frequency. So we found a way in which number 2 was most outstanding, and also another way in which 57 was most outstanding with number 12. So 2 birds with 1 stone there, the stone being number 12 and the 2 birds being number 2 and number 57, depending on whether we're looking at recent history or full history. So we found the way in which number 2 was most outstanding, and that was with number 12. So just one number left to find, and that is number 9. Now if we look at number 9, all machines, all sets of balls, full draw history. Let's see where the winning numbers are on this chart. So we've got these ones in the middle, and number 57 yet to occur. So this is the first time 57 and 9's ever occurred together. So I'm guessing on the chart for 57, number 9 is probably most overdue. So it's in this list of the most overdue numbers, because when I'm looking at just numbers with a frequency of 0, see number 9's in that square, along with number 20. So interestingly, when we look at number 57, all machines, all sets of balls, number 57 most overdue with number 20, and that's where the winning numbers were on the chart. Let's see where all the rest of the numbers were. So it would seem that number 9 was just most overdue with 57. So if we look at a chart now then for the dry rate since the numbers went up to 59, just the 4 sets of balls that have been in use. That's where the winning numbers were on that chart. If we narrow it down to the current trend, which is mailing and alpha sets 5, 6, 7 and 8. You can see that's where the winning numbers were. It would have been very hard to predict these numbers by looking at the ways in which they were most outstanding, because we probably wouldn't look at the chart in those ways. So for instance, to get 57 most outstanding, we probably wouldn't be looking at just one set of balls and 2 machines. And then we wouldn't have been looking at number 12 and full draw history. Certainly wouldn't be looking at every pair of numbers. Because the number of pairs (3,422 pairs). So I'm not going to look at 3,422 charts to find a most outstanding pair. And then number 2 most overdue, I think it was with number 12 when we looked at full draw history. And then number 9 most overdue with 57. But it wasn't the only number that was most overdue with 57, so it wasn't really most outstanding, it was only one of the most outstanding. But anyway, that's all 6 of the winning numbers, and that's in what ways they were the most outstanding. So now the chart looks like this. Most recent numbers have dropped down to there. This is what's left up there, and this is where they all are. So this is how long it's been since a number landed in each one of these columns. So obviously this column's been waiting longest, and generally it goes down with frequency, that little pattern there. And if we look at how many numbers are in each column, see we've got 2 numbers that could possibly drop from this column to end up in this column. We've got 4 numbers in that one, 6 in that one that could end up here, and then we've got all these numbers, about 11 numbers that could end up there. 9 numbers to there, 9 to there, 7 to there, 4 to there, 3 to there, and 4 to there. So the probability of a number landing in each one of these columns is directly proportional to the number of numbers that could possibly land in that column. And I think that the amount of time that the column has been waiting for a number to land in it also is a factor that contributes to the probability. So if I could figure out how to work out the exact probability of a number landing in each one of these squares, and then make a list of the most probable numbers that would land in each square, then maybe we could figure out what's going to happen next. Now personally, I think that because we've got 6 numbers that could land in this column that's been waiting for 3 draws now since a number last occurred in it, there's a good chance that there'll be a number landing there. And this one, since these numbers are most frequent and there's 4 numbers that could land here, I think we'll get one just there as well in the next draw. And considering that these numbers up here are most overdue, there's a good chance we'll probably get one number in one of these 2 columns. One of these 2 columns here, and then the other 2, I think most likely to be this one and this one. Or if not both of them, then at least one in these. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think 54 will drop down to there because it's most overdue for its frequency. I think that probably the most overdue will drop down to there, and then out of these numbers depends. Depends if any of them are outstanding. Could look at a whole bunch of random different charts and find different numbers outstanding in different ways. But basically what we're trying to do is see the future, and if you can use maths to sort of narrow it down to what the future will be roughly, then that will give you an advantage. But basically it's literally impossible to see the future unless you've got psychic powers, and I don't think I have got psychic powers, so I'm just going to leave this video at that. I hope that I hope that it's given you a bit of insight for the next draw. If you've got any questions, just drop me a comment and I'll answer. And that's all for now, so stick around for the next video, and bye for now.